All right, guys, we've got a few more steps to do to our model that we're going to end up clipping to all these other layers that are right here before we move on adding more to the actual foreground and to her body. So to start, I'm going to create a new clipped layer. Let's move this out of the way. I'm going to do Command-Shift-N. Oops, not on Photoshop. All right, Command-Shift-N to create a new layer. I'm going to clip it, click OK. Then I'm going to download or copy the color code that I have over here. Maybe. There we go. Command-C. I'm going to change the blending mode to linear dodge and make sure it's at 100% opacity. What we're going to do now is in the inside of her eyes, we are going to create a glow. So on this layer, I'm also going to call this eye glow because it's different from all the other things we've been doing. Change it to linear dodge. Paste my color that I want. Click OK, and I'm going to use a hard round brush. I'm going to zoom in a lot on her face so I can get a nice image of her eye. I'm going to reduce my brush size using my brackets. Then I'm going to carefully paint this color inside her eyes. Oh, my opacity is down. You want to make sure your opacity is all the way up too. So I'm creating this like glow effect inside of her eyes. It's kind of creepy and cool at the same time. Do the same thing to the other eye. Take your time with this part to make sure that your craftsmanship is done well. Might even make that a little bit smaller so that I can get into the crease a little bit easier. Same thing for this side. Give that kind of cat eye look. The same thing here and here. Okay. Next, you're going to download the brushes in Teams. So if I go into the assignment and I go to the brushes, click on the 3 arrows, it's going to open it online. These are the brushes that I want to use. These ones create kind of like a ray effect, almost like the rays of the sun glowing out. If you want more like a spark effect, you can do some splatter brushes. You would click here for free download. I've already downloaded them myself. Once you have them downloaded, it's going to download into a zip folder. So I'm going to go into my Finder, go to my downloads. You can see these are all different brushes that I have downloaded before. And you're going to see these zip folders. If you double click on them, then it's going to open up your folder here. So I already have my laser ones right here. So I'll go into my brush settings up here to the little arrow next to my size. I'm going to go to my settings menu, which is this little gear icon, and go down to import brushes. I'll go into my downloads, find the ones I'm looking for, which are my laser brushes. I would click on this and hit open. Since I've already downloaded mine, I don't need to do that again. Once you download them, they will be all the way at the bottom. So you'll see here, I have a folder called laser brushes. If I click open the arrow right here, all the different laser brushes that I have are right here. They come out really big, so you can reduce the size a little bit and then bring it over to see if this is one that you would like to use. Do that a couple times until I find one that I like. Maybe not. That one's cool. I like that one. All right. Now, I'll go back into my directions. I'm going to use this color code right here. It is the same color as we were using before, so I don't actually have to paste it in anymore. I'm going to use the splatter brush, reduce the size of it, and then click a couple times in the center of my eye. 1, 2, 3, to create that kind of glow effect going on. Do the same thing for this one. Looks pretty cool. Don't really like how it looks at the end there, but I'm not going to tweak it for now. All right, now I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to use this one. You have to use the Command-Shift-N for, because we have to fill in with an overlay of neutral color, 50% gray. So here I'm going to do Command-Shift-N. I am going to clip it, but then here under my blending modes, I'm going to change that to, where is it? Overlay. And as soon as I click on overlay, this box shows up for being able to select it. And this we do have to select. This is the only way that this layer is going to work. So when I click OK, you're going to see my thumbnail now is filled with gray. We're going to use two tools we haven't used previously in any of our projects. It's the dodge and burn tools. If you hit O on your keyboard, it would automatically pick them up. So if I hit O, it takes me right to my dodge and burn tools. Right now, the dodge tool is on top. If I click and hold, my burn tool is underneath. I'm going to start off with my dodge tool and use a soft round brush. Using the dodge tool, I'm going to make sure that I am on midtones range and my exposure is around 25% up here in the settings. I'm going to use the dodge tool to brighten the eyes effect, so the sparks coming out of my eyes and the glow. I'm also going to use it to enhance the face and the nose that is highlighted over here. So on that, got my burn tool. I'm going to use that to brighten up the glow in my eyes and also kind of brighten up the rays that are coming out. Do the same thing to this eye. And I'm also going to use it to brighten up this white spot and increase my brush size to kind of brighten up this a little bit. Kind of gives her a sheen. Now I'm going to use my dodge tool, or excuse me, my burn tool to darken my eyebrows and the bridge of my nose over here. So I'm going to click and hold on this, bring out my burn tool. I'm going to decrease the brush size and try to accentuate those eyebrows that kind of got lost behind that spark effect on the eyes. Okay, brighten those up a little bit. And I'm also going to make the size increase. I might also take this exposure down some more to kind of accentuate the shadows there and along her jawline. It's kind of creating that contour that makeup creates when you put it on your cheekbones. All right, so if I click the eyeball on and off, you can see the effect that it did. Kind of brightened and darkened things up at the same time. I'm going to make a new layer. Now, this is optional. It's not written in our steps, but because I have so many layers going on for my model and all the enhancements that I did for it, I think I want to group them. So keeping the top one layer selected, I'm going to go down until I get to my bottom model layer, hold Shift, and I'm going to do Command G to group them. And I'm going to just call this one Model because there's so many layers going on. All right, now I'm going to create a new layer. You can even just click on the new layer button right here, and it does not have to be clipped for this one. I'm going to use this new color code. Command C to copy it. And I'm going to paint at the bottom of the project to create kind of like a smoky effect going on. So I'll go into here, my foreground color, paste the color, click OK. I'm going to do Command 0 to zoom out. Might also zoom out a little bit more so I can see the outside bottom edges of this. I've got my soft round brush. My opacity is at 100%. Now I've got my soft round brush. I'm going to increase the size. I'm also going to move this out of the way. It's helpful, but at the same time, it could be a pain in the butt. And I'm going to create kind of like a smoked haze. Now, if that's too bright for you, then you can play with the opacity. I'll reduce it a little bit and create that. And I'm also going to create a new layer to create like a focal point in the center here. So to make a stronger effect, I use a soft brush with this color, and I changed the mode to the blending mode to overlay at 100%. So I'm going to copy my code, paste it in here, create a new layer, and then on this layer, I'm going to change my blending mode to overlay. And then I'm going to take this color and kind of splash it here in the middle. And it creates kind of that bright focal point there in the center. On another new layer, I'm going to use this same color that we just got finished using to paint on the two hands. And I'm going to change the blending mode to hard light. I kind of want to create a glowing effect off of her hands. So on a new layer, change the blending mode to hard light. I'm going to reduce the size of my brush, and where her hands are, I'm going to kind of go to where her wrist starts, and I'm going to click once. I'm going to do the same thing over here to this one. All right, I'm going to download two different Spark images. Now, one of the Spark images, Spark 1, this is going to be for your whole background. It's going to create like a nice flaming sparks in the background. The second spark right here, spark 2, that is a focal point. And in my other projects, you saw that I either had sparks in her hands, which is what I use the spark 2 for, or I put flames coming off her hands. So it depends on where you want to put it. Just open up my other one so you can see. Okay, this one I used flames in her hands, but that focal spark I put right there in the center on her dress. And the other one, if I can find it. Maybe this one? No, okay, no worries about it. I just put the sparks in her hands anyways. All right, so the first one I'm gonna open up is my spark 1. File, open. It should be under my downloads. That's this one right here, Firework Sparks. I've already altered this one for you guys. I cleaned it up. The coloration was kind of bad and the quality wasn't that great before. So I fixed it up and then saved it as a Photoshop document. All right, let me get rid of this one. Now I'm going to use my Move tool to bring this into my project. It's going to say about the colors. Don't worry about that. Just click OK. That's fine. Then I'm going to go up to the top corner of my project and then hold Shift to kind of make it fit the entire project. Okay, hit enter to accept it. Now I don't want this on top of her. Now I can't see her anymore. I could play with the blending modes right now and see how it would look, but I don't want the sparks to be on top of her. I want them to be in the background. So I'm going to take this layer and I'm going to drag it all the way below my grouped layer with the model. I can also see that once I did that, I don't really like how this is not centered. So on this layer, I can hit Command T again, and I can just increase the size like that to get it kind of centered to where she is. So it looks like it's literally coming off the back of her. That looks good to me. So now I can bring in the second sparks that I had. So I'm going to go to File, Open, and find the small spark. Click Open for that one. I'm going to use my Object Selection tool to select it. Use my Move tool to bring it into the project. This one I want to be all the way on top, so I'm going to take this layer and put it all the way towards the top. And then I'm going to transform it to make it smaller. Now you're going to notice it has kind of some black outline edges from when we took it out of here. To make that disappear, oops, because I didn't hit enter, it didn't save the size transformation. All right, to make those black spots disappear, I'm just going to go to my blending mode and I'm going to go to screen. I think that works out nicely. I don't know if I said something else in here, but play around with the different blending modes to see which one you like. All right, so for this, I'm going to put it in her hand. In the other one, I had a kind of focal spot right here and I put flames coming out of her hands. I like it like that. I'm then also going to duplicate it and I'm going to move it to her other hand as well. So I'm going to go Command J, move it. And I want the sparks to be facing out that way. So I'm going to, while it's in transformation, hold Control. I got to transform it first. Command T, hold Control to right click inside, and I'm going to flip horizontal. So now the sparks are going out the way I want them to be. Okay, now I'm going to go back down to my background sparks. I'm going to duplicate this layer. On here, I'm going to transform it and I'm going to make it so that I have more sparks going in different directions. It means you probably will have to transform it and make it larger too. Okay, hit enter. And then I'm going to change the blending mode to this to linear light. I think I did that one in linear light. Nope, color dodge. So I'll go back to my first one, go to color dodge, and then also change this one to color dodge. I don't really like color dodge on that one. Let's try linear light. That looks cooler to me. Yeah, I like the way that looks better. Okay, it's all starting to come together. All right, it says add a layer mask to the Spark 1 layer. Oh, I skipped that part before doing that. Here, let's delete that one. All right, on this one, I'm going to add a layer mask. And I'm going to create that bokeh effect again. I'm going to kind of create the fading around the outside edges. So I have my layer mask is white. My foreground color is black. I have soft round brush. I might reduce the opacity a little bit. And I'm just going to reduce some of that intensity on the outside edges. Now I will duplicate it and transform it. Like so. I can also, on this layer mask, reduce a little bit more because it kind of moved the intensity of those sparks. And now I can also bring some of the ones from the background back in as well. All right, so I'm going to go back up now top to my small sparks, which I will call small sparks. And then as soon as I'm on that one, now I can start adding in the fire. So I'm going to get rid of my firework background, get rid of my small sparks. I'm going to open up the fire that you should have downloaded off of Teams as well. There we go, that one. I'm going to first use all of these flames. So I'm going to use my object selection tool to select all of the flames. I'm going to use these to kind of put in the front part of my model. So now that I have them selected with my object selection tool, I'm going to move it in. It's fine if the colors don't match. It's huge, so I have to zoom out a lot. Shrink it up, and I'm going to put it towards the front part of her. I'm also going to hold shift to kind of squish it so that more of the flames are in there. Like that. Hit enter to accept the transformation, and then I can go ahead and play with the blending modes here. I changed this one to screen. That looked good to me. Take another part of the fires and put them around the model's hair and body. I applied the same settings of blending options with all of these layers and used layer mask to remove any unnecessary parts. I used 14 layers for this. That's a ton. So I'm going to go back to this one right here, Command D to deselect it. And then you can either use the quick selection tool or the lasso selection tool to pick out certain spots of the flames. So for right now, I'll quickly pick out this section right here. That's selected. I will move it into my project. And I'm going to make it smaller and kind of transform it. Now, if I wanted to warp this to make it exactly match like the side of her arm right here, while it's in transformation mode, I would hit Control to right click and go warp. And then I can really kind of finagle the flames and make them go in the exact direction that I want them to. See that that's good. I don't know if it is, but I'm going to rotate it a little bit more, move it over here, shrink it down a little bit. You can also use your move tool or arrow tools in here. So say I like the way that that looks. Now I'll go and change the blending mode. Let's try screen. That worked out pretty good for me. I like it. And this is what I'm saying. I did 14 different layers with transforming it, warping it, changing the blending modes until I had an entire encompassed one. She had some coming out of her hair. She had them on both of her arms, maybe some coming off of her hips. Whatever. Just make it look like she's kind of enveloped in flames. Once all of those are done, you can select all of your flame layers and group them again by holding Shift, clicking on all of the layers, going to Control or to Command G to group them. And then once you're finished, you change the whole group from the normal default of pass-through to screen. So I'll duplicate this a few more times and I'll move it. So maybe I want those same type of flames over here, but I want them going in the opposite direction. So I'm going to hit Command T, hold Control, and I'm going to flip horizontal so that the flames are now coming from that side like that. And say I did that a bunch more times. I would select all of my flame layers, Command G, but as soon as I put that into a group, you see how it goes through pass-through for your default blending mode. I would take that all down and put it to screen. This is an optional step for number 14. On the curves layer mask, use a brush to erase fires on the arms, hair, and bottom so we don't have them so bright. I think by using screen for my blending mode, it came out just fine. And then the final step, hoorah. Select all of your layers and duplicate them. On the top layer, press Command, Option, Alt, Shift, and E to merge all visible layers. So I'm going to grab all of my layers and groups. So the top one is selected. I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom, hold Shift to select all of them. I'm going to duplicate them all, and then I'm going to do Command E. I don't even have to do Command, Alt, Shift, and E, just Command E so that I have one layer with everything copied on it. I'll fix that in the directions. Last thing to do is you're going to go to Filter, Sharpen, Unsharpen Mask, set the amount to 120 and the radius to 1 and the threshold to 0. That's going to really crisp up everything in here. So Filter, Sharpen, Unsharp Mask. My menu comes up here. The amount is going to be 120. The radius is 1, and then the threshold is 0. And I'll click OK. And that really just sharpened everything up. So I'm going to hit Command 0 so you can see everything. And if I go back a step, see how it's kind of blurry? And this makes it really nice and sharp. Just gives it a nice, crisp, clean look. And that is it. This should be your final project. You'll have obviously more flames and everything coming off of her, but I hope you guys are satisfied with the way yours looks in the end.